This recipe is from the YouTube channel Divas Can Cook by Monique. She shares her grandma Barb's recipes. And for this recipe, you will need 2 cups of flour. Monique uses white lily flour. This is all-purpose flour. 1 tablespoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, a 1/4 cup of shortening. She uses butter flavored, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1 cup of buttermilk, and 1 tablespoon of mayonnaise. Y'all, this is what she says is her secret ingredient. Okay, so Monique uses a flour called white lily all-purpose flour. It says the light baking flour. I didn't have white lily flour, so I just used my regular all-purpose flour, Martha White, that I use. So I'm going to just go ahead and sift my flour and hope it does something wonderful for the biscuits. We'll see. And yes, I am left-handed. It's a blessing from God. I really don't even know like the purpose of sifting flour, although it does make it look really, you know, light and fluffy. So I wonder if it does the same thing for our biscuits. Preheat your oven to 425. We're going to go ahead and add the salt, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, as well as 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and a tablespoon of baking powder. And we'll just whisk that together. One tip is to use what you have. A good buttermilk substitute is to add 1 tablespoon of either lemon juice or white vinegar to your milk. And that could be fresh lemon juice or not. And it also can be regular milk or plant-based like almond milk. And just let it sit for about 5 minutes and stir it and put it in your recipes in the place of buttermilk. Okay, so now we are going to, now I have this little pastry cutter or whatever, but my mom always uses just a fork, okay? Just pressing downward, you know, like, and just mashing butter or shortening it into, they call it cutting it into the flour, but you can use a fork if you don't have the pastry cutter. But I bought this pastry cutter off of Amazon some years ago. But anyway, I'm going to be cutting in the shortening, which is a 1/4 cup, and Monique says that everything has to be cold. Well, mine is not cold anymore. I actually had it cold for a minute, but I was doing some other things and time got by me, so it's not cold anymore. So the purpose, what you're trying to accomplish is, as you're putting the shortening in and the butter in, any large pieces, you're just going to keep trying to cut it down as small as possible. So we're going to put the tablespoon of sugar, and we're going to put in the cup of buttermilk. Okay, we're going to give that a little stir. Try Try not to make a mess. Okay. And then we're going to just clean our work surface off again. I, of course, cleaned it before I started this process, but I am going to clean off this work surface again so that I can get ready to work with the dough on my counter. So I have floured my work surface, and we're just gonna plop that dough on out. It's not gonna be perfect, y'all, but we're gonna put it all together when we get it out here. Okay. I don't know about y'all, but I like to get like all of my stuff out of here. I don't know. I love a spatula. It's a thing to try to get it all out. Okay, so anyway, now I can feel better. So we want to make sure our hands are pretty floured to touch this and bring it all together. We're going to bring it all together now. All right, and what we want to do is just kind of work with it until it kind of comes together, you know? And so now I don't know how successful this part is going to be, but we're going to see. This is supposed to, once we get this laid out here, we're going to work on trying to get some layers into our actual biscuit so that when it is cooked, it should have fluffy layers to it. So I'm really excited about this. So it doesn't require a lot of kneading and so forth. Still feeling a bit sticky, so I'm trying to kind of keep my hands floured as well as, let's see, get some on my surface here, hands and everything. Alright, so it's kind of forgiving, you know, if you got a spot that needs some more flour, you just put a little more flour on your surface, on your hands, what have you. But the whole idea about the layers is like actually flipping your dough over to make the layers. You could just take a cup and just cut out your biscuits. I'm going to try this in my skillet. I usually have another pan, but for right now I'm going to put this in my cast iron skillet. And by the way, you just press straight down to cut the biscuit out. That's what we're looking like right now. Okay, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna try her secret ingredient. If you ask me, it's just add fat, but anyway, I have to admit that when things, it may not be the healthiest thing to put on here. She says she puts mayonnaise on here. I'm gonna try it this time, but you know, I don't like to add a lot of unnecessary fat to my food, but every now and then, you know, I'm willing to give this a try. You know, would this be a treat I would do every blue moon or whatever? Because I do believe in putting some good butter on mine, but I'm gonna try this mayonnaise thing. I have never heard of that in my life. Okay, but I'm gonna give it a go just to be true to the recipe. Okay. Okay, so now it's time to put the biscuits in the oven. Be sure to put it on bake. And now we're going to take them out. Now what she said about this mayonnaise is that it helps it brown a beautiful golden brown. Now I'm going to probably put it under the broiler for a few seconds after I put the butter on it. And like my husband and I call this a ridiculous amount of butter. It's very important when you want to just really enjoy your biscuits. So we're just going to put the, oh, listen to that. Okay. So we want to just make sure still got that little cooking action going on. I'm going to put butter all over this. I really want it all on the side and edges. Can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong with butter. Just don't do this every day, y'all. Okay. I'm just going to put it under the broiler for a few seconds because it's not going to take but a few seconds to do just a little bit more than it's got going on right now. Ooh, look at that, guys. I cannot wait to try these out.